right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan. I'm the pastor and executive director here with Noelle Holskin. She is the community director here. Did you like that little intro I did?
Sure, that was really good.
I thought that was great, actually. I'm proud of myself for that.
Really proud of himself.
Hey, welcome to Free. This is a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees, and what we do here is break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. And listen, y'all, there is one thing that we do not do here. If you're new with us, you need to know this is one thing we do not do here. For you old timers, I want you all to shout it out as loud as you can for our online people to hear. Online people, welcome. We're glad you're here too. Whatever state, country, city, region you're joining us from, we're glad you're part of this community. Y'all can put it in the comments in Facebook or YouTube. But on the count of three, all four words, what we do not do. 1, 2, 3. We don't do
There's
shame.
a lot of old timers here tonight.
A lot of old timers. I love it. I love it. All right, y'all, there's some important things coming up. Noelle's going to share with us some of those important things. Noelle, take it away.
It's true. If y'all are here with us tonight for the first time, welcome. We're so glad you're here. There are welcome bags right outside the store. They're in little brown bags with a free stamp on top. It just has a little bit about what we do here at Free Spiritual Community, a little bit about what Wagon Coffee does. There's some fresh roasted Wagon Coffee in those bags and some free swag. So please grab one on your way out if you haven't done so already, and just know that we're really glad you're here with us this evening. The second thing, if you are not getting our weekly emails, if you could fill out a Connect card for us. They are at the donation stations, so we can keep in contact with you. We would sure appreciate it. On February 12th, Sunday, we are having a Super Bowl party here in this room on 220 inches of TV.
Yes.
So we are teaming up with T-Pass and Aurora Sober Living to have this event. Pizza and wings will be provided. Free cafe will also be open next door if you prefer a salad, coffee. So the whole building will be a Super Bowl party. Doors open at 3:30, and then the game kicks off at 4:30.
Yes.
So February 12th, it'll be a good time.
It's going to be good. Hey, can I ask them a question? Were you done with that?
I am now.
I want to ask them a question. Did you have more to say?
No, I'm
I
good.
don't want to cut Noelle off. Hey, if we were to, I just touched my mic. If just throwing this out there to see if there's interest. If I know some of y'all have been here the last few weeks, and I know that we're like out of chairs. If we were to do a second service at say 5 p.m.
Hypothetically
speaking, who might be interested in a 5 p.m. thing? Oh, look at that. Everyone with young kids just raise their hand.
Yes.
I get it.
Everyone with 8 o'clock bedtime.
More to come. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Thank you, Noelle.
We're going to pray about that. Mm-hmm. Do you all know that we have a sober softball league that we are a part of here at Free Spiritual Community? Oh, they do. That's great. Well, if you don't, we have a team every year that we get together, and our captain of that team, Brandon Nelson, is here with us tonight. So he's going to say a couple words about our free softball team and just getting the team together again for this year. So if y'all could help me welcome the Brandon Nelson.
B-Nels.
I didn't really know when to walk up, so I didn't know, like...
We should have had a walk-up song for you, dude.
Yeah, no.
Next time.
Hello, everyone. Just wanted to invite everyone who'd be interested, if you're new to this community, new to recovery, or just want to try something new, please get in touch with myself, either phone call, text, or email, because we are putting together our 2023 roster. And it is just a great way to create fellowship, kind of deepen your recovery community. We're all about supporting each other and having fun in recovery at the same time. For me, it was one of the first things that in my early sobriety when I learned that recovery could also be fun. So it was life-changing for me. And then we get to be a part of the free community while we do it. So,
dude, I'll never
carry
forget
the message.
When you said to me, it was 2 years ago, you were walking off the mound because Brandon is a very good pitcher. He was our pitcher. And
I pitch. I don't know if I'm
he's a very good pitcher. And he said, man, 6 months ago, I would be hungover on the couch right now. I could have never done this. Yeah. And look at you now, leading the team. The coach. Yeah. Oh, you coach. Thank you, sir. Get in touch with Brandon if you want to sign up. I'll take that. Oh, Kiera, come on up. So I'm really excited to let you all know that we have Reiki coming into the free community. We're excited to offer this opportunity. I am not a Reiki master, but Kiera McAllister is a Reiki master. Some of y'all might think this is a bit woo-woo, but so that's why I invited Kiera to tell us what is Reiki.
Hello, guys. My name is Kira. I'm a Reiki master. And yeah, it is a little woo-woo. It is
Not totally.
Not totally. It is the universal life flow energy, and it is energy healing that is used to help heal the body, mind, and spirit. Ancient religions talk about like healing touch, laying on hands. So it's very similar to that.
Yeah.
So if you have any other questions, just find me after the service and I can answer any questions that you have.
And so is it an hour session, 45 minutes?
Yep, it's about 45-minute sessions.
Okay, if y'all want some Reiki in your life, get in touch with Kiera. Kiera, thank you for being here. All right, y'all, the way we start here at Free on Saturday nights is we start with celebrations. We start with the good stuff, remembering the good. We lift up the good. We don't skip over the hard stuff. We just save that for later in the service. So this is a really important part of our service where we lift up the good. We take 3 minutes for this. Chase will just pass around that mic. You can just raise up your hand. Maybe it's a sobriety anniversary or a new baby that's coming or has come already, or maybe it's a new job you got. Whatever the new thing in life is, we want to celebrate that with you. We believe God joins in a celebration with us. If you're online, again, just drop it in the Facebook comments or YouTube comments. We want to celebrate with you there as well. So let's take 3 minutes and celebrate.
I'm Tisha. I'm an alcoholic, and this week I celebrated 7 months sober.
Way to go, Tisha.
I'm David. I'm celebrating 60 consecutive days sober.
All right, man. Congratulations.
I'm also David. I'm a family member celebrating 5 years of recovery this week.
All right, David. Congratulations.
My name's Talia. I'm celebrating 62 days sober today.
Way to go, Talia.
I'm Melissa. I'm celebrating 31 days sober, and I had my baby niece born very, very recently.
All right, congratulations. Chase, we've got one in the middle here after Adam.
My name is Adam, and I'm celebrating 6 years sober today.
6 years, buddy. Adam is our guest storyteller tonight. You'll hear more from him in a minute.
My name's Red. I'm an addict and an alcoholic, and I'm celebrating 60 days.
Way to go, Red.
My name's Mary, and I'm celebrating reuniting with my first cousin who's 7 months sober from heroin.
All right, Mary. That's good stuff. Well, y'all just went quiet. All right, right here, second row.
My name's Alyssa. I am celebrating 7 years sober from cocaine and 2 months sober from alcohol.
All right, Alyssa, glad you're here. Way to go.
I'm Christine. I'm an addict, and I just went into a new foster home after not being in a group home that was kind of crappy. And I'm in a new foster home, and it's a new opportunity for me to get better and, use this time. I don't know. Thank you.
All right. Congratulations. We'll celebrate that. 20 seconds. Who wants it? All the way in the back.
I'm Billy. I'm an addict, and I'm celebrating 45 days sobriety.
Way to go, Billy. Glad you're here, Billy. All right, thank you, Chase, for running around. Now, the great Tammy Canaday is joining me up here on the stage. Tammy Canaday, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, good evening, guys.
Hey, I just want to let y'all know if there's a seat in front of you, if y'all can scooch together, not in front of you, beside you, if you can scooch together, if there's any middle seats, we have people standing in the back. And also, if y'all want, it is the service streams out in the cafe on the TVs, but I know it's cooler in here. So, but if there's chairs anywhere, let people know. Help a brother and sister out. All right, shall we celebrate with our online people?
Yes, and I wanted to celebrate something too.
Let's do it.
In the third row is our friend Cindy, and she has been showing up early and loving on our kids and just gifting them and teaching them wonderful things, and I'm just grateful for you, Cindy. So thank you for all you do.
Brought a lot of art tonight. Thank you, Cindy. All right.
Abby says, first free meeting, 120 days sober, yesterday.
Way to go,
Awesome,
Abby. We're glad you're with us. Stephanie says, my family gathered this afternoon and celebrated my uncle's 70th birthday. He shares a birth date with my dad, who died in 2006. Making memories, I'm blessed. Congratulations, Stephanie. We're celebrating with you all the way up in Michigan.
And Stephen says, daughter got a good friend, a publisher, for their new book. That's a big deal, Steve.
Way to go, Stephen. Doug says, my lung disease has been more clearly re-diagnosed, which means I don't have to take as much lethal medicine, and my prognosis is extended. God is faithful. Congratulations,
right,
Doug. Glad you're here tonight, brother.
And our friend Jen says, celebrating being here tonight. Always the best part of my Saturday. Also celebrating my truth that I'm an alcoholic in recovery, and my worst day sober is still by far better than any day in active addiction.
True that.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Jen. Dan and Cindy Rapp, celebrating as a family that Austin was able to travel and enjoy California with Brandon, a true miracle. And if y'all know the story, you know that's a miracle. Grateful for all. If you who continue to lift Austin up in your prayers.
You got it.
Praying for Austin. Such good news. Cindy and Dan, thank you for sharing that with us. Let's do one more, shall we?
Yeah, this is a good one. Sherry Blosser says, celebrated 10 years yesterday.
Way to go, Sherry.
Awesome, Sherry.
So awesome. Congratulations to you. Thank you, Tammy. You want to just put it on the couch? All right, y'all. We are in our fourth and final week of this series called Wholehearted Living. So let's just say in high school, I wasn't exactly what you would call a top academic performer. At some point in my high school career, it was noticed that I had focusing issues and concentration issues, so I got sent to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist put me through a bunch of tests, and at the end of the day, he said, yes, it's true. Your brain moves too quickly and you can't focus on this and concentrate on this. And by the way, what do you do with a kid in the 90s who's having focusing and concentration issues? You diagnose him with attention deficit disorder. Then you prescribe to them a bunch of speed, also known as Ritalin or Adderall. And then in my junior year, I took the ACT. Do y'all know what the ACT is? Yeah. In many states, it's that big test you have to take, and then you have to take those results and send them in with your college applications. So I took the ACT. 2 weeks later, I walked into the guidance counselor's office to receive my ACT test results. And I walked in, I sat across from her desk, and I sat down, and she handed me the envelope, and I opened the envelope, and I saw my score. And y'all, it took me years to publicly talk about this because I was so embarrassed by it and had so much shame wrapped up in it. But we don't do shame here. And I've worked through that shame so I can share it with y'all, but I got a 16. And I'm looking at my score, and I look at her, and I say, look, I know this test score isn't great, but what does it mean for me? And y'all, I'll never forget what she said, because some words just have a way of sticking with you. She said, well, you have scored in the bottom 10% of the entire state of Missouri, where I'm from. And then she said, don't bother applying to any university in the country, because nowhere is going to accept you with a test score like that. Okay, thanks, bye-bye. You know what I mean? And the truth is, I was mostly okay until I got home that evening, and my friends started to call me, sharing with me their test scores. Well, I got a 24. Well, I got a 27. Well, I got a 31. And that's because you're an overachiever. No one likes you. I didn't really say that, but it's what I felt, right? But you know what I did in that moment? In that moment, I learned the art of comparing myself to everyone around me, and my worth was built up in this. My value was wrapped up in it. My self-esteem was wrapped up in it. And listen, at that time in my life, I did not know that there was other ways of learning. I didn't know there was other methods. I thought it was just about getting these textbooks and trying to learn the facts and memorize the facts, and you got to regurgitate them, and I could never remember them, and being thrown a bunch of mathematical equations that would just make my head spin. I didn't know until much later in college and in grad school, seminary, that there was a world of ideas out there, and we could read these books and engage these ideas. And these ideas, we could talk about how they apply to our lives, how even ancient ideas have a way of transforming the world, how we make sense of these ideas, and how we change communities with these ideas. I didn't know that existed. So at that time in my life, instead of doing the work, I was just kind of paralyzed, comparing myself to everyone around me. Well, what about them? They know something I don't know. They're all smarter than me. And the truth is, I lost the sense of direction in that time of my life because I was busy comparing. You see, is there any way in which you have been asking the question, what about them, when the far better question is, what difference does that make to you? Because it's true, comparison, it's one of the greatest traps we can fall into. The 26th U.S. President, Theodore Roosevelt, said that comparison is the thief of joy. Because comparing yourself to other people, it will always kill your contentment. So, there's this really cool moment in Jesus' life where he's reunited with one of his best friends, one of his disciples. And this story comes from John's gospel. Keep in mind, there's 4 gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. He's reunited with one of his best friends named Peter. And see, the backstory to this is this story comes right after the death and resurrection of Jesus, so right after Easter. And this is the same Peter who, like, the moment when Jesus needed him most, Peter was nowhere to be found. He was stuck in denial. You might remember the story. Jesus was arrested by Roman soldiers, where he was led to a Roman execution stake called a cross, where he was murdered, crucified. And as these Roman soldiers are leading him away, Peter is following at a distance. And they lead Jesus inside, but Peter hangs out outside by this fire pit. He's trying to keep warm. Someone comes up to Peter and says, wait a minute. You were with him, weren't you? You're one of them. He says, no, man, not me. You got the wrong guy. It happens a second time. Wait a minute. I saw you with him. You were with Jesus, right? You're one of his followers. What's Peter say? No, man, I've never seen that guy. I don't even know who you're talking about. And it happens a third time. Someone else comes to Peter. He's by the fire pit. Wait a minute. You're one of his disciples, aren't you? I saw you hanging out with him. Peter says, man, I have never seen that guy a day in my life. I don't know what you're talking about. So Jesus gets killed, body placed in a tomb. 3 days later, Peter shows up to this tomb and sees that the tomb is empty. And he's like, what in the heck happened to Jesus? So see, you have to understand, for Peter, this has been a very traumatic time in his life. He's been through some things. He's been through the ringer for a few days. Now, sometimes, is it true, when you go through those traumatic experiences, you just need to do something kind of normal, right? To like remind yourself of your grounding, remind yourself of reality. So Peter says to his friends, the other disciples, what you and I would have probably said. He said, y'all want to go fishing? So they get in a boat. They row out. They start to fish. Now there's a man standing on the shore back at the beach. And it's Jesus, but they don't recognize him. They don't recognize who it is. And he shouts out to him in the boat, y'all catching anything? They say, no, not today. He said, I'll tell you what, cast on the other side of the boat and see what happens. And they say, man, that's stupid, but we ain't catching anything here, so we might as well try. And they do it, and they bring in a whole mess of fish. Now, Peter, he was impulsive. I like Peter. I can relate to Peter. He just did some things without thinking about it sometimes. He recognizes that it's Jesus, so he jumps out of the boat and he starts to swim, which was a dumb move because the boat beat him back anyway. They get back to shore. They have a fish fry, breakfast on the beach. And then you get one of the most beautiful moments in all of Scripture. Jesus pulls Peter, one of his best friends, aside. And he says, Peter, do you love me? Peter says, oh, come on, Jesus, you know I love you. I mean, what happened a couple days ago, man, I just wasn't myself. I was stuck in fear. I didn't know what to say. Happens a second time. Peter, but do you really love me? Peter says, come on, Lord. Why are you asking me again? You know I love you. Jesus says, then feed my sheep. Take care of my people. And it happens a third time. Jesus said, Peter, but do you love me? And Peter's like, Lord, come on, man, this is the third time. Now it's starting to hurt my feelings a little bit. You know I love you. Why would you ask me again? And Jesus essentially says, good, because we have some work to do in the world. Like, you are the man that's going to go and do this work, so I need you to be ready. And some people read this story and they're like, man, what? Jesus must have just been some sort of egomaniac. Why did he need to be told that he was loved 3 times? I mean, did he have low self-esteem? Why would he make Peter do this? Or maybe Jesus was showing a moment of forgiveness. Not offering forgiveness, but showing Peter what it's like to forgive himself. 3 times. Peter, you don't have to live in your past. Peter, you can't live in your past because you have got to move forward. You've got some work to do in the world. It's this beautiful moment of forgiveness. He's given his mission and his purpose, reminded who he is. And you know what Peter does? He starts to look around. The best words he can muster up. Chapter 21, verse 21. Lord, what about him? Peter, dude, you're blowing it. Man, this is a big moment for you. You're being given a mission and a purpose, and the best thing you can do is compare yourself to him. I love Jesus' response. Sometimes he just nails it. Very next verse. Peter, what difference does that make to you? What about him? What about her? What about them? My brothers and sisters, you have a great purpose in your life. You have work to do in the world. If you are in recovery, you have work to do in the world. You get to go back in and help other people out. You weren't created just to kind of sit around and hang out. You were created for more, but are you missing it because you're too busy looking at everyone but yourself? You see, is there any way you have been asking, what about them? And the far better question is, what difference does that make to you? Now, social comparison theory, anyone heard of that? It was developed in 1954 by a psychologist by the name of Leon Festinger. A very simple theory. It says this: individuals determine their own social and personal worth based on how they stack up against others. Now, this is fascinating because social comparison theory gave us this really interesting statistic. Check it out. As much as 10% of our thoughts involve some kind of comparison. Y'all know what that means? That's stunning, isn't it? If you sleep 8 hours tonight, tomorrow you're going to have 16 hours of a waking day. That means most of us are going to spend an hour and a half or more comparing ourselves to others. You're going to spend an hour and a half of your time tomorrow comparing yourself to someone else. And social media didn't do us any favors here, did it? One study shows us this: 88% of women said they compare themselves to images on social media, with half saying the comparison is unfavorable. I'm not going to have y'all raise your hands to see if it's true. And men, you thought you were exempt from this, huh? 65% of men said that they compare themselves to images on social media, and of that, 37% said the comparison is unfavorable. Is it any wonder why 58% of Americans say that social media negatively affects their mental health? Why? Because social media taught us the art of what about him? What about her? What about them? You see, one author said that our problem is we like to live in a land of E-R, which means whatever someone else has, we want that plus I don't want to be rich. I want to be richer than him. I don't want to just be strong. I want to be stronger. I don't want to be happy. I want to be happier than them. And then the real danger comes in when we leave the land of for the land of Est, E-S-T. Because I don't want to just be fast or faster than he is. I want to be the fastest. Man, I don't want to just be great. I don't want to just be greater. I want to be the greatest. And how do you ever know when you've made it? I mean, when is enough enough? You see, are you stuck in the game of more? And you know it's a lie, right? I mean, that's the lie we bought into with our addiction. More. Not just more booze and more drugs, but more ego, more self-centeredness, more fear, more shame, more lies to cover up the shame. And see, is it true when we got clean and sober, we stepped out of that game? We entered into some new rules for life. We were taught new things. We were taught what it means to live one day at a time. We were taught things like what it means to trust God with our lives, to turn our lives and our wills over to this power. We were taught things like starting with gratitude, because something very profound happens when you start with what you do have, the gifts, the things you do have, rather than all the things you don't have. And you do know there will always be someone who is prettier than you, smarter than you, someone who has more sobriety than you, someone who is more experienced than you, someone who works harder than you. But what difference does that make to you? Because see, you have your path in this world. You have your work to do in this world. You have you, the one God created you to be. But you know what the real problem with comparison is? It will always kill your contentment. And y'all know how it works, right? I mean, you're here and things are fine. Things are good. Free is good. Man, this community is good. Thank you, God, for this community. Thank you for this space. But then you can start to look around. Man, have you seen that community? They have more money than us. They've got more people than us. They're doing more than us. Maybe if we can just work really hard to get there, then I'm going to be content. Then I'll be content when I get there. Thank you, God, that life is good now. Thank you, Lord. Oh, my recovery is good. I feel good about my recovery. And we start looking around. Man, have you seen him though? He's sponsoring 42 guys. He's got like 100 years sober. When he talks about his recovery, that he just has a way of wowing the room. You know, if I can just find a way to get on his path, never mind my path, if I could just get over there to his path, then I will be content. Man, have you seen her though? The gift she has, the gift she brings into the world, man, it's like she can cast a vision. She can talk to anyone. Man, if I can just find a way to get those gifts, never mind my own gifts, if I can get those gifts, then I will be content. Thank you, Lord. Life is good. Man, then you go into the gym. Oh, I'm feeling good, feeling pumped up today. But dang, did you see their bodies? They're like totally chiseled. I bet when they take a picture in the mirror and then post it on Instagram, they're going to get all kinds of likes and all kinds of significance and value. My Volkswagen Passat was just fine until he rolled up in a Maserati. And do y'all see how it works? We just keep going in circles, never being content because you're too busy chasing there when all the good stuff, all the action is right here. And sometimes we say, but God, how come I don't feel happy? I just want to feel happy. I read that part in the big book where it said we're going to be happy, joyous, and free. But God, I don't feel happy. I don't feel joyous. I damn sure don't feel free. And we say, God, how come I don't have peace in my heart? Everyone talks about this peace. I read that part in the big book, and it said we will know serenity. We will know peace, but I don't feel peace. And I think in those moments, God says, seriously? Because you haven't yet learned how to be content with you. You've been too busy asking, what about them? But Ryan, free people, what difference does that make to you? You see, I want to close with some words from the Apostle Paul, going all the way back to the first century. He wrote a letter to these people in the city of Philippi. It's a place where he started a church, and he wrote a letter to them. It's called the Philippians. And what makes this letter so profound is he wrote it while he was behind the bars of a prison cell. And I want you to hear what he wrote to them. Philippians 4:11 through 13. I'm not saying this because I need anything, for I have learned how to be content in any circumstance. Notice he didn't say he was born with it. Didn't just magically appear. I've learned how to be content in any circumstance. I know the experience of being in need and of having more than enough. I have learned the secret to being content in any and every circumstance, whether full or hungry, or whether having plenty or being poor. Well, what's the secret, Paul? I can endure all these things through the power of the one who gives me strength. You see, my brothers and sisters, we must learn how to be content. You are not born with it. It doesn't magically appear with age. We have to learn it. And then we have to practice it. And by the way, what's the secret sauce? There is a power greater than you, giving you the power to be here. You, your path, your gifts are enough. God has called you. Do you believe that? And in my experience, we cannot get there on our own. We must tap into that power that is greater than us. God, help me be here. You see, what work has God called you into? What work do you have to do in the world? Who were you created to be? And engaging those questions, we do not have to compare. What about him? What about her? What about them? You don't have to look around. What about you? What about you? What difference does that make to you? So I'm going to close with this song. It's a song called You Are Enough by Sleeping at Last. My wife, Tammy, played this song at a retreat, and it has just kind of stuck in the Canada household. It's one we play often, and it's the song that will close this series of living wholeheartedly, to believe that you are actually enough. So take a moment of reflection. I invite you into a quiet time and engage the questions. Who are you? What difference do they make to you? Did y'all like that song? Yeah. That's kind of good, isn't it, Matt? You Are Enough. My wife introduced me to that song. Thank you for playing that a few years ago at that retreat. Which retreat was that? A mom's retreat. That's why I wasn't there. It was a mom's retreat. All right, y'all, if you're new with us tonight, you need to know that every single Saturday night we have a guest storyteller to join us up in the living room to hear some of their experience, strength, and hope with the topic at hand. And as y'all know, tonight it is Adam Castle, who is celebrating 6 years sober. Come on up, brother.
How's it going, Ryan?
Man, look at you, Adam. Dude, next time you just got to smile a little bit, dude.
Yeah, I kind of have difficulty smiling when people. I'm like,
so
most of my life I've never had that reason.
Look at you now, smiling. 6 years sober and clean. Right. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. A little nervous, but okay.
Yeah, you got lots of love out there.
Excuse
Don't
the
even worry
language.
about them. So, some of y'all know Adam is, of course, a member of the Sober Souls Motorcycle Club. He'll talk more about that. He's a very important member of the free community here. Adam, we love having you here in this community. People love you, dude.
I love being here. Thanks to everybody. I just keep coming back. I just love it here. You guys make me feel at home.
He told me, he said, now, Ryan, I don't know about all the God stuff, but you don't push it on me here. And he said, sometimes when I hear it makes sense, and this community has loved and supported me. So, dude, we're glad you're here. And I can tell you all this, when he shared his story with me, and I knew pieces of it, but we sat down this week. And it's the first time in a long time I was just stopped in my tracks. So I want you to share some of that story. And I know some of it's heavier. Not all of it's heavy, but some of it is. And here we get into the heaviness. But you started your life in addiction doing meth at the age of 11.
Yeah.
What led you to that?
Well, a little bit, my backstory. I kind of grew up in Philadelphia. Not like that matters, but my dad hung himself when I was born. Most of my life I thought that was my fault, but turns out I had nothing to do with it. He was just a dumbass. Excuse me.
You can say that.
Right. So
they're going to bleep you on YouTube.
Because life gets better. It does. And my earliest memory that I could come up with was I was around 6 years old and I had gotten into some trouble. Back in them days, my mom locked me in the closet. I'd stay there for, I don't know, sometimes a couple of days, a week, 2 weeks, whatever. I'd come out, and one day, I think my brother set my bed on fire after I came out, and somehow I got in trouble for that and went back in. I come out. I'd seen my sister get molested by one of my stepfathers, and I just, I'm the middle child. I did something. I got in trouble for that, and then my stepfather, he became the next door neighbor, and the next door neighbor became my new stepfather. Kind of weird, fucked up shit, but, shit happens. Needless to say, that continued on. I've gone to school with black and blue marks on every inch of my body, and my story ain't the worst story because my story ain't your story, and to you, that's yours. However, by the time I was 11, we were here in Colorado. I started using meth. I was riding bicycles in a field with somebody one day, and I'm a redhead. Nobody liked me. Nobody liked redheads. Even though everybody wants to be one.
Preach.
But, reality is I stabbed the guy in the neck with a knife, took his bike. I got juvenile diversion for that. That was my first felony. And every time I used drugs, I got another felony. So I learned, if I use drugs, I'm going to prison. That's the end result for me. And for most of you, there's a lot of programs out here today that could change that for you. But if you don't do something about it while you have that opportunity, guess what? You're going to prison. I promise you. Or you'll be dead. And recently, my daughter, she's 34 years old. She overdosed on fentanyl. She'd never done it before in her life. One of her boyfriends that she just started dating, I guess he beat on her, and I was driving around with her, talking to her, and tried to get her to introduce me to him. I said, well, why don't you take me over there? Why don't you take me over there? She was like, no, Dad, I'm not doing that. No, I can't. No. I know what's going to happen. I'm not doing that. So needless to say, he'd called her while we were driving around. I dropped her off at home. He picked her up. They went to a motel. He introduced her to fentanyl, and I know that my daughter, she used to have a problem with drinking, and sometimes she'd do coke, but she would always come home and she'd want to finish it all before she went to bed so that she woke up and didn't have any more. So apparently he gave her some fentanyl. She went home. She did it all. She never woke up.
Adam, can I interrupt you a moment?
Yeah.
You spent half your life in prison. You come out. Your daughter died, what, just a year and a half ago?
Yeah, it's been a year and a half.
But you were sober when you came out of prison. When your daughter died, you were sober. What connections did you have when you came out of prison? I mean, how did you go from living this life of meth, drugs, booze, whatever other addiction you had, into saying, now I'm going to start connecting with people?
Well, I got out of prison and I was in the halfway house and I reached out to Scott Mounts, owner of Transition Sober Living. He's turned out to be just like my mentor, like I couldn't fucking have known or met a better person. My life ever since I moved into his house. Before I got out of prison, when I was in court the last time, they said, if you come back to prison, or if you come back in front of us again, you're never getting out. Never getting out. Well, see all you people out there? It's good enough reason not to go back. I personally, I don't want to see nothing but dudes for the rest of my life, okay? I don't. You women, you're beautiful. Don't take that for granted. Women are beautiful. As crazy as they can all be, they're beautiful. So, transitions, I went to transitions and fuck, man. I sat there, I had a rough time when I got there. I spent the first 8 months in my room pretty much off by myself because every roommate I got, I chased away. I was like, yeah, I'm good. And Scott would talk to me, I'd calm down. He started telling me, well, you should go to these, come with me to these meetings. I didn't think I needed fucking meetings. I still don't fucking think I do, but...
Keep coming back.
I went. I walked into the rooms and I pretty much told them guys, fuck, I don't fucking need you. I don't fucking need anybody. I've been doing this shit my whole life. Excuse my language, but that's just the way it is. I don't expect to change myself for other people, but I have changed my direction in life. I'm still the same person, just with new direction. And
man, and dude, when I interact with you, and I know what I told Tammy, I said what I love about Adam is he doesn't have this pretty language, as y'all see. There is there's no mask to wear. You tell it like you're there right now, and man, there's something really beautiful about that. And I talk to people here, and they're like, "Oh, Adam, he's so gentle." Gentle, dude. Did anyone ever use that word about you, gentle?
Not most of my life.
And look at you now. So I want to say a couple of things because these one-liners kept coming up in our talks. And so I think you said your daughter dying was the hardest thing you've been through in your adult life. Who was the first people that you called?
When I got the call about my daughter dying, I hung up the phone. I called Scott and I called Elko and I was like, the Sober Souls, I called them. I just, I made one phone call and within 10 minutes my garage was filled with fucking guys from Sober Souls Motorcycle Club. I love you fucking guys. I would never want to be anywhere other than there. And I knew the moment when they all showed up and, tears were coming out of my eyes and, I made myself, I don't even know what the hell you call it, but I was vulnerable at that moment. I was very vulnerable at that moment and they were there for me. They just, and I wasn't even a full board member of their club or nothing. I was just a douchebag pretty much and they were going to see if they wanted me even to be there. Well, I knew when they showed up that day, I knew that that's what I wanted. I was going to be a sober soul. I knew it. And my life ain't gonna change. That's what I'm gonna be for the rest of my life as a sober soul.
That's powerful, man. So, you know, one of the things we talked about, and this was a total side note, but it totally caught me, man. It, you said sometimes in your sobriety and with the work you're doing, you said, I have to support gay people. And I said, and you went on, and you said something, and I said, now look at you now, Adam, loving gay people in your life. And hold on, this is really important. Because in that moment, Adam started to cry. We were sitting in my office. Do you remember this? You started crying. I said, why is this so important to you? And with tears running down his face, he said, because I know what it was like to be a 6-year-old boy and being in that dark closet and have nobody support me, and I have to protect those who are getting picked on.
Yeah. So, you know, it was really rough in that fucking closet, and there was no fucking buddy for me. And although, you know, my life, I don't want nothing to do with all that fucking shit, but, you know, when they come into my houses, and I rely on Scott a lot for my mentorship because, you know, my mind is like, you know, fuck you guys. I don't give a shit about you. All you do is whine about shit and fuck you. But in reality, like, you know, I've come to learn that just because my story is fucked up doesn't make their story any less fucked up than mine, okay? Because I'm not them. I don't live their trauma, even though they don't really know what trauma is. I don't feel like my mom taking my phone isn't fucking trauma. They took my video controller away. That's not traumatic.
Depends on who you are.
Yeah, but for today's people, the media, the internet, and all that, they make people, you know, compare themselves to other people.
Yeah. So, Adam, to kind of wrap things up, I asked you where you saw the greatest healing in your life over these last 6 years in recovery. And he immediately pulls out his phone and he says, look at this text I got just this week. Do we have a picture of that text? Could you read us that text?
I sure will.
It's on the screen, too.
That's all right. I got it right here on my phone. Okay, it says, have a wonderful day and know that I admire you. What you're doing with yourself, you inspire me to quit, you know. I love you, Adam. You're my people. I know lots of people, but there's nothing better than my tribe. My boys both wanted me to tell you hello, and they remember you, and they're so happy that you're doing well. They see that it makes me happy too. Did you know I may not have taken this step to be sober if not for you? I've been watching you. Ain't that cool? Somebody's watching me. I was like, wow. That made me cry. It literally made me cry. I'm your buckaroo. I want it too. You're my good example, and you are my heart. Don't tell anyone I have one. Okay? So, like, yeah, it made me cry. I felt like, wow, I finally touched somebody. I finally did something for somebody. So maybe everything that I've done fucked up in life was worth it if I could just help one person.
And this is someone you used to use with.
Yeah. We made a lot of money together. We did a lot of drugs. But we made a lot of people rich, but we didn't get so rich. So I just know if you're selling drugs, the only person who's getting rich is the one that's way up higher than you. Street level shit, and you ain't gonna do nothing but go to prison. That's what I did. Every time I used, I went to prison.
So, Adam, if you were to say to someone, if you were to speak to these people or someone who's watching in the living room, my grandma's probably watching tonight. So, Grandma, I'm sorry about his language, but I promise you, you would love this dude. Get to know his heart. For someone who's saying to themselves, man, I don't need anybody. I don't need meetings. I don't need help. But you know they're dying inside. What would you say to them?
I would definitely tell you, like, if you feel like you don't fucking need anybody, but you're around some people that seem like they're not so bad, that maybe you should just spend more time around those people, because they probably have something good that you need, even though you don't think you need them. And it might turn out that you actually want them in your fucking life.
Adam Castle, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Adam. So we have been doing this for 4 years, which means we've had, I don't know, we're in the hundreds with guest storytellers. Adam, I've never seen a standing ovation for a guest storyteller or anyone else here. Oh, shoot. Man, my night is made. We could all just go home now. Except for the truth is, I know that in this community, we do carry heavy burdens. And sometimes we try to do it alone, and we tell ourselves, we don't need people. We can carry this on our own. And y'all know you suck at carrying burdens by yourself. You weren't created for it. You aren't cut out for it. That's why you have community. So we take 3 minutes, just like we do with celebrations, and we lift up the heavy, and we believe that God always hears the cries of the people. So if you're online, Facebook, YouTube, put them in the comments. We want a heartache with you there. Chase will, again, pass around a mic. If you have a heartache, something you need to get lifted up in prayer, we will lift you up together as a community with, I know how y'all do it, text messages, Facebook, Instagram messages. We're going to pray for each other, and that's kind of how we carry one another here. It's one of the ways, at least. So, Chase, pass around the mic. We'll take 3 minutes for this. Just lift up your hand.
Hi, my name's Patience. My dad is out in a relapse, and he has been for a minute, and just prayers that he can find his way back to the light. Thanks.
Prayers for your dad. Thank you for lifting him up.
Michelle Alcoholic, our friend Brian is having surgery this week to fix his neck.
Brian?
Brian.
I didn't know this. Prayers for Brian. Brian, we're praying for you, dude. What's that? February 2nd. All right, thank you for sharing that with us.
Hi, my name is Naya, and I'm new here, and I'm currently struggling with my sobriety because my girlfriend passed away from a fentanyl overdose. So I just ask that you guys uplift me with that.
Prayers for you. I'm glad you're here. Sorry for your loss. This disease is a brutal one, man.
My name is Emily, and my brother, who was sober for almost 10 years, relapsed recently, so we could pray for him.
Prayers for your brother, Emily. Glad you're here tonight.
Hi, I'm Abby, and my grandma was diagnosed with dementia and has been steadily declining. She was finally placed in a memory care facility, and she escaped, and they denied her re-entrance back, so she's actually going to have to go to an institution now. And my stepfather is an active alcoholic and is really struggling with his mother going through this. So if we could just pray for Levester and Jean, it would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Prayers for your grandma, Abby. Glad you're here tonight.
Hi, Nancy, alcoholic. I have a sponsee. She has 20 years sobriety, and she is out there now drinking, and she is now in kidney failure. So prayers for Max. Thank you.
All right, prayers for them. Thank you for lifting them up, Nancy. Glad you're here. We got time for one more. Who wants to take it? Second row here, Chase. I'm glad you wore your running shoes tonight.
Hi, my name is Jandy, and my dad was diagnosed last week with a tumor in his lung, a collapsed lung, and pneumonia. He's 93, and I'm his caregiver.
All right. Prayers for you and your pops. Glad you're here. Matt, you want to join me up here? While you're coming up to grab the microphone, it's in the couch. Or you can use that one.
I'm using this one.
Okay, use that one. I just want to let you all know there's someone parked in front of someone's driveway. Is it on Lafayette here? Mitsubishi Red. The neighbors are going to start towing. They've given us lots of warnings. We cannot block driveways. You can park at the Safeway. We've got permission to park there. It's a half a block from here. We can do street parking. We've got our parking lot in the back. I know it only holds about 35 spaces, but we just cannot block people's driveways. So if you have a red Mitsubishi and you're parked out there, we're not going to look at you at all.
No, we don't do shame. So if 8 more people can get up and I'll walk out, we won't know who did it.
All right, there you go, Matt. Way to take that, dude.
Oh.
Yes. You don't have to compare yourself to me, though. What difference does it make to you?
I cannot improve perfection, my friend.
All right, let's join our online community with some heartache, shall we, Matt? You take the first one.
Brittany Bauer Seaman say, my friend lost her 19-year-old son to fentanyl overdose last week. As Ryan just said, this is a tough community of tough losses, and let's keep our prayers out for those that are losing people and the people themselves.
Yeah, sorry for that, Brittany. Glad you're joining us tonight. Jen said, this is a long one. We asked for prayers for our friend who was in a horrific motorcycle accident 2 weeks ago. She was hit head-on by a man in a pickup truck who was impaired. She almost died, and she has numerous surgeries, one of which was amputation of her left leg above the knee in order to save her life. She needs our prayers, and does her wife. I also ask for prayers for the man that made that decision to get behind the wheel. I have driven many times drunk. It could have very easily have been me. Thank you for that, Jen. We are lifting up all the families and people involved in that. Thank you for sharing that with us. Glad you're here.
Next, we have Monty Voss. Prayers for Lauren, 31, new mom of 9 days who has cancer. Prayers to you, Monty, and prayers to Lauren.
Catherine says, I have 3 court cases I'm scared of. An ex-boyfriend who just committed suicide, struggling to stay sober. Good days / bad days. Prayers for you, Catherine. I hope you have people you are connecting with. I'm glad you're here tonight, lifting you up.
Our friend Ben. Ben's the new general manager here.
Yes, he is. Look at that.
Thoughts and prayers for our friend Diego that he may find his way. Prayers to Diego, and thanks for that comment, Ben.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Praying for Diego. Deborah says, my ex's youngest sister just passed away recently. She was only 53. Prayers for that family. Prayers for you. Glad you're here, Deb.
Jim Pilcher says, please lift up in prayer my sister-in-law, Janet, who was taken to the ER today with potential heart issues. Prayers to your sister-in-law, Janet, Jim.
All right, Frank says, please pray. I'm struggling with alcoholism. Frank, glad you're here, dude. You're in a good place. Keep connected with people who have been there this week. There is a way out of the madness. Glad you're here. Prayers for you.
Amen. Heather, we're going to finish with Heather Liscombe. My father has stage 4 colon cancer. We need all the prayers we can get. Prayers to your father, Heather, and anybody that's suffering from cancer.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of families are afflicted with that. It definitely touched my family a few times. So prayers.
Lift them all up. Thank you for being up here with me, Matt.
You're welcome. And one thing Noel said that on February 12th, it had behind you the doors open at 3 while you were telling everyone 3:30. So what time do the doors open February 12th for
3:15.
Super Bowl?
Whenever y'all get here, we'll open the doors. Thank you, Matt. I do need to let y'all know that one of the ways, our central image here is a wagon. I'm going to tell that story next week because we're doing baptisms in the wagon. It'll be full of water. Everyone's going to get wet. It's going to be fun. I hope y'all plan on coming to that next Saturday, 7 p.m. And then we're going to start a new series on our 4 values here. When you walk in these doors, you see authenticity and recovery, and when you leave, you see that we don't do shame, and because of all this, we get new life. So we're going to do a 4-week series on that. It's the one series we do every single year, and by that I mean we started it last year. We're going to do it again this year. But, one of the ways we are the wagon together is we're funded by you all. So I have to take a moment and just tell you the importance of giving in this community and let you know how grateful we are for your giving. Your generosity helps keep the mission of breaking the silence of addiction going. So thank you to all of you who have been a part of that. Small gifts, big gifts, everything in between. It seriously makes a huge difference. Without your giving here, we don't exist. And I just say that as plainly as I can. There's 3 ways to give in this community if you want to be a part of that, if you feel called and inspired to that. The first way is to download the app. It's free. All our content, all the services are on the app. You can give there, Free Spiritual Community, or you can go right to the website, freespiritualcommunity.com/give, and you can give there, or at the text message, it'll walk you through a simple set of instructions. Or there's a box here, and there's a box on the other side of the doors, just outside the doors. You can give there. Thank you all for making that, for those of you that have made that a spiritual practice in your life and have made that a sacrificial act in your life. We're really grateful for that. It truly makes a difference here. Shall we go out with a prayer? I invite you to take a big, deep breath in. Breathe it out. Be reminded that the God of the universe is in your breathing, and when God feels distant, sometimes God says, I'm in your breath. I can't get any closer than that. Let's go out with the serenity prayer. If you don't know it, it'll be on the screen. If you want to open your hands, it's a sign of openness. You don't have to. It's just a sign of openness, the Spirit moving in your midst. And the prayer goes like this: God, grant us the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen, my free brothers and sisters. May you be reminded this week not to buy into the game of comparison. Don't buy into the bad questions that get you nowhere. You are free when you don't compare. Because of that, have all kinds of grace and peace this week, and we'll see you next week.